Sometimes it's wise to ignore the total flog who's in your midst. It saves everyone the angst of confrontation, and generally the fool moves along to annoy someone else. Unfortunately, though, there is another level of total tosser who hypocritically preaches from the public pulpit in a desperate attempt to maintain some sort of relevance. One of these people is the person formerly known as Prince Harry. Now, I hesitate to call him a man lest his wife be offended by the use of gender-affirming titles. People like me, you see, think he surrendered his masculinity when he jumped on the woke wagon with a Hollywood C-lister who eventually became his wife. And it's interesting to note that even Harry's mates thought he was, quote, effing nuts for dating Markle, according to a new book by Tom Bauer. Apparently, after a weekend with his Eton pals to meet his new master, they were all treated to a barrage of reprimands for their, quote, jokes about sexism, feminism and transgender people. Oh, the horrors. But the weekend was a letdown, apparently, because the human fun sponge lacked any sense of humour and was a dampener on the party. Well, I could have told him it's never a good sign when your mates don't like your pick of companion. But of course, that didn't stop the former prince from proceeding with his nuptials, and after a couple of years of being held captive in royal castles, royal jets, royal yachts, royal events, this dynamic duo managed to flee their captors. And clearly, that's what qualifies Harry to give a speech to the United Nations for Nelson Mandela International Day. I mean, it's obvious. Mandela was in prison for 27 years and went on to be president of South Africa and a role model for many. So how can you not see the parallels with Harry and Meghan are eerie? Now, in his speech, which was to a near empty chamber, as you can see, Harry blasted the assault on democracy and freedom, referring, of course, to his expert knowledge of the US Constitution.
The few weaponising lies and disinformation at the expense of the many. And from the horrific war in Ukraine to the rolling back of constitutional rights here in the United States, we are witnessing a global assault on democracy and freedom.
Yeah, Harry's war on disinformation, hey? That's why he doesn't watch Democrat-led media like CNN or MSNBC. You see, they've been repeatedly exposed as proponents of fake news, and that's what Harry's all against, of course. But no pious former prince could lay claim to moral superiority without channeling their inner Greta Thunberg and firing up about that old chestnut climate change. I mean, this is so important that he, and the former princess captive, of course, need to fly private jets around the world to tell everyone else to stop emitting fumes. This is what Harry had to say.
But the right thing to do is not up for debate, and neither is the science. The only question is whether we will be brave enough and wise enough to do what is necessary.
Yeah, what is necessary, dear Harry, is for the world to ignore you and your wife's hypocritical posturing as you live an enchanted life of being a total tosser. In my view, you should have paid more attention to your mates.